guys to episode 12 of the Southwest Texas High School Football Show slash podcast. In this episode, we're going to go over the results of the state championship games that were held at AT&T Stadium this past weekend. The game started on Wednesday and finished on Saturday, and a bunch of good games, great games, uh, some amazing comebacks and all around just great football. We're just gonna go over the scores. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably saw the games anyway. So we're just gonna go over a little bit of over the scores and if you didn't get to see them all, just so we can just kind of go over who won and a little bit of info maybe on each game. Uh, Starting off with the six-man games and ending with the 6As. Also, in this podcast, we have a special guest. Used to play for the Wildcats. Still remembered as a Wildcat legend down here. Currently coaching with the Denton Wildcats. He's already won a couple state titles as an assistant coach. He's been there since the beginning, and we're glad to have him here. We'll get to him in a little bit. Ask him a couple questions and see how coaching at Geyer coming from Carrizo Springs, happened with him. So it's good to see a local uh, player, local coach up there in the big leagues with the big teams, coaching and doing well. So we'll get to him in a little bit, but let's go over these games that that happened this past weekend. Starting with the 1As, which are six-man teams. I really didn't go over them this season because I didn't have too much information on them. They're a little bit different on roles and stuff like that, so we just kind of would go straight from 2A up. But they had their state title games as well. All of you that don't follow 6A, they play on a shorter field, a little bit of different rules, but still football. You can, when you see it, it's still entertaining. It's still football. Not too much of a difference. Just less players on there. A lot of speed shown on these games. But starting with the 1A Division One, right off the bat, there was a big upset. McLean and Bloom, Bloom coming in, basically as a big underdog, and pulled out the victory 58-52. Everybody was kind of surprised with that one, but good for them coming in and representing their town and winning a state title. I think they hadn't won in 50 years or that they've been a school. So these teams are really small. These towns, really small, really tiny classes. But they were up there at AT&T Stadium, representing and playing their hearts out, and then Bloom comes in and upsets McLean right off the bat. The next game was 1A Division Two, which was Richard Springs, who's a staple in these six-man games. I think they've got 8 titles, trying to get number 9, but Motley County came in and just put it on them. Didn't give them an opportunity. I think this game was called off. They have a mercy rule in 6A where if it gets too far ahead, I'm going to say it's 50 points or 45 points, they stop it. And that's what happened. Motley County beat Richland Springs 62-16 to win the state title and prevent Richland Springs from getting their 9th title. Then we go to the 11-man 2A. This one was had a little bit of a local flavor. Refugio's close to where we are, but we still hear from them a lot. So, and they ended up beating Post 28-7, and Refugio comes back with their 4th state title, their 10th appearance at the state title game, and then got their 4th thanks to Ochoa, the quarterback, who again played great, led them to the title, and was their leader the whole playoff run. Did great in the game, and Refugio was not going to be denied this year. The Division Two game to it was Mart versus Hamlin. This is the one that I said that I had picked Hamlin as a kind of surprise to beat Mart. Mart was coming in as a two-time defending champion. They were trying to get three in a row, and they did, but they had to fight for it. They won 25-20. Hamlin, came close, but Mart just was able to, pull that last score and win their eighth state title and a third in a row. So good kudos to them for coming in and doing what they need to do. But this one was a hard fought battle. Hamlin did a good job of staying with the champs, but March showed what they were kind of made of and were able to pull number 8 state title for them. Um, 3A Division One. It was a Grandview and Pottsboro. These are the teams that were pretty unknown for us down here in this area. Um, the Zebras came in and got their second straight state title, uh, beating Pottsboro 42-35. Close game, a good game. But Grandview repeats as state champion. In the 3A Division 2, Gunner and Pewitt. Um, Gunner was a little bit too much for Pewitt. Pewitt came in and took out some big teams, but Gunner was just too strong, like I had said before the game. And this was I think, their second title for Gunner. Again, 43-22 for Gunner. Carthage and La Vega. This was a game that I was saying that was going to be really good, and it was. Carthage and La Vega went back and forth until Carthage just kind of pulled away at the end. 42-28 for Carthage. This is their seventh state title, but La Vega was there, the whole game. Carthage a little bit too much, but good game all around. Exciting game. Came down to the end. 4A Division Two, another school that was close to us is Wimberley. Pleasant Grove, I had said, Pleasant Grove had been number one all year, and they kind of showed it. Wimberley was there most of the game until the very end, where Pleasant Grove just kind of pulled away, and it ended up being 35-21. Wimberley was a surprise team in the state title game, of the teams they had to beat, and how they got there. So, but they ended up being there, and didn't get blown out like a lot of people thought they would. They lost by 14, and from a really good Pleasant Grove team, and they were prepared. And Pleasant Grove was just a little too strong, too big. Going into the 5As, 5A Division One, Shadow Creek beat Ryan. That's the one where I hope that Shadow Creek would win. They were coming in. This is their second year of existence. Last year, the first year they had it, they went and lost. And this year, a lot of people were picking Ryan. That might just be too strong, but Shadow Creek came in and surprised them and did what they needed to. Like I said, it was going to be Shadow Creek's defense against Denton Ryan's offense, and Shadow Creek's defense did a great job holding Ryan to 22 points, which was unheard of. They were averaging 50 points a game. Nobody was able to stop them until this game. And Shadow Creek came in and did what a lot of people didn't think could be done, and that's why they won. 28-22 in favor of the Sharks. Again, second year of existence and already have a state title and a state runner-up trophy. So good job by them. And next year they're gonna be a hard team to beat because they've got a lot of kids coming back for Shadow Creek. The 5A Division Two game was Aledo and Marshall. Again, close game, but Aledo wins their 9th state title. They've been to the state championship game 10 times and have won 9 of them. 7 of them with the Bishop brothers. The Bishop brothers have won 7 titles between them, and they have 9. So that family alone has 7 state titles. It's crazy. The how the 3 brothers all played and all have at least 2 titles. Aledo, this was a close one, but Aledo pulled it out 45-42. So another one for Aledo, making it 9. I think now they're tied with I'm gonna say, well, Richard Springs was going for 9, but they didn't get it, so I think they're ahead in most state titles by a school. So they have 9 out of 10, and that's just a powerhouse every year. They're the team to beat most of the time, and doesn't look like they're just gonna reload for next year, and they're gonna go for 10 next year. So watch out for the Bearcats next year as well. 6A, we've got North Shore and Duncanville. This was a rematch of last year's title game that ended up in that miracle pass that North Shore won on that you know miracle catch in the end zone to end the game. And this one, North Shore wins 31-17 against Duncanville, but Duncanville's starting quarterback, was hurt in the semis, so Duncanville came in with their backup quarterback, and was not able to kind of do what the star does. I mean, you can't expect them to, but he was able to practice and get some reps in, but wasn't enough. North Shore was able to stop them, to only 17 points, which again is they wouldn't have done it with if Duncanville would have had their starter. I'm sure they would have scored more points. It would have been a lot closer game, a lot more exciting game. But North Shore does what they needed to, and then wins 31-17. This is their fourth title, and second in a row for the North Shore Mustangs. Again, Duncanville, the luck of losing their starting quarterback the week before, hurt their chances a little bit. And the last game of the Texas High School Football 2019 season was Austin Westlake versus Denton Geyer. Now, this is a game that I was looking forward to because we had a little bit of a local flavor in it. One of the assistant coaches for Geyer, who is our special guest today, Lee Vallejo, coaches there at Geyer, and he we were cheering for his Wildcats out there from Geyer, and 6 plays into the game, starting quarterback Eli Stars goes down, and unfortunately their backup quarterback was also hurt, so they had to go to the third string quarterback, who was a freshman, coming into a stadium with 50,000 people. I mean, you're putting a big uh, burden on this young kid to come in and beat an unbeaten. I don't think Westlake was unbeaten. I think they lost one, but by 1 point to Lake Travis, I think. But a monumental task for him to come in and beat them, and you could see that he just wasn't ready. Not his fault. It's just you don't expect uh, as a freshman to come in and play in front of so many people in the biggest game, the last game of the year, and expect him to just come in and do what he needs. I mean, you just kind of knew once their starting quarterback went out, it was okay. Let's see what we can do here, and for a guy not to score any points tells you everything you need to on Westlake taking advantage of that situation right there. They were throwing blitzes left and right at this freshman, and it for the score to be 24-0, means that he was able to control the game in the sense of not throwing pick sixes or anything like that. He just couldn't get anything going, and you kind of felt bad for him and for the team because they just never had an opportunity to kind of show what they could have done. I think, in my opinion, I think they would have won, but that's the way the game goes. You get injuries, you get the ball bounces your way sometimes it doesn't. The only thing that you feel bad for the kids is the work that goes into it, everything that they put into it into this last game, and then that one injury kind of derails everything. So you just kind of wish him well, and hopefully, quarterback is a sophomore, so he'll be back next year. I think he was a junior. I'm sorry, and so he should be back next year, and then hopefully he'll, uh, put the team on his back and remember, uh, you know, what they felt like to when he went down, and then turn it around and get him that state title that everybody thinks that they should have won. Everybody was picking Geyer, and he went down, it was a whole different ball game. So, and Westlake, congrats to them. They did what they needed to. It is not their fault what happened. They play who they have to play against, and they came in, and once starting quarterback went down, they were all over the third string quarterback, and took care of what they needed to, and no apologies needed for them. They play, I mean, because if their quarterback would have gotten hurt, it would have been the same thing. Nobody would have felt the same way. Where, well, I mean, your title's not fair or anything like that, because no, I mean, this is the game. You play it, you win, and that's the way it is. I mean, so congratulations to the Westlake Chaparrals. Getting 24-0. This is their second title. They were able to break the a little bit of a losing streak in state title games, but they were able to get the second one. This was their eighth appearance, and finally got their second one. So good job by them. Next year they should be there, with Lake Travis again. So those are the games. Those are the final games of the year. Good games. Some of them, I don't think there was any blowouts that were. I think the Refugium Post was the one that was the one lopsided, and then the Westlake Geyer one, obviously because of the quarterback situation. But the Refugium's 28-7 game was the one where everybody had their teams, and that one's was a 21-point difference. But all the other ones were closer than that. Gunner and Pewitt again was also 21 points. But that one was tight at the half. So adjustments that came in were Gunner did what they needed to, and Pewitt just couldn't get anything going after the half, and Gunner scored 21 more points. So those were the state title games. Like I said, if you're listening to this, you probably saw them, and you kind of know what had happened anyway. But for those of you that weren't able to, or we're just trying to remember, some of the scores, that we kind of go over them a little bit. To put a cap on the season, there's 24 teams traveled to the AT&T Stadium. You had baseball hats, cowboy hats, just all types of people at AT&T Stadium. Coming in trucks, RVs, suburban motorcycles, all kinds of cars. Traveling to the stadium to watch these games. People from all races, all creeds, and all cheering for their schools, for their towns. Sportsmanship all around. I saw a lot of fans shaking hands from one school to the other and wishing good luck to the other, and then that's just the way it is down here in Texas. It's football. It's what it is. You miss it when it's not here, and when it's here, you're all in all the way to the playoffs. Even when your team is out, you keep following the teams that are close to you until the state championships. That either you're there, or you're glued to the TV watching these games. There's nothing better than watching these high school kids on TV, and teams that played near you played against, and starting with the very first one. Those two towns combined population, things like 1,100. Combined students was like 160, 165, something like that. Combined students, and there was 4,000 people for that game. So that's telling you right there how popular it is. This was a 6-man state title game that had 4,000 people, and there's only 1,100 population in the two towns. So, not just those towns came to see them. There was 3,000 more people that came to see that game. So that's telling you, what Texas football is all about. Most of the teams, or all of the teams that played this weekend, had to play 15 games. This was their 16th game, and in the regular season there's 10. So they almost have to play a whole other season just to get to this game, to get to AT&T Stadium. And I mean, there's winners and losers, and the losers have nothing to hang their heads. I know that you see them, the emotions of tears, and then, you know, uh, devastation, and disappointment that they lost. But once that wears off, you look back and you're like, well, we were the second best team. It's still nothing to hang your head. I mean, to get to that point is really hard. A lot of teams don't understand how hard it is to get to that game, and getting there and winning it is even harder. So, you know, when you win, it's a lot of the hard work pays off. When you don't win, it seems like it doesn't pay off, but it's still your program to get to that point has to be uh, very well established. Have a really good foundation, a really good coaching staff for you to get to that point. You want to finish it off. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but looking back, you sit back and say we had a pretty good team. We lost, but to get there, not a lot of teams can say that. So kudos to even the ones that weren't able to win the game. Still come and shake their hand and give them a good job. Uh, even though they lost. Sometimes that they don't want to hear it, but in the long run, they'll feel appreciated and understand that the hard work that they did doesn't go overlooked. So it's tough to get to that game, even tougher to win it. So you still gotta give those kids a lot of credit when they make it there. A lot of the teams that make it, you don't know their stories. The one that I knew because it's a little bit closer to us was Wimberley. I mean, Wimberley lost their last regular season game. They lost to the district champion. They weren't district champions, and they had to beat the district champion again. They had to play them again, and they beat them this time. They came back and avenged the loss and beat the team that had beaten them earlier in the year and had won district. So they didn't win district. They didn't beat that team, but they beat them in the playoffs where it mattered. And then they had to play. They played Rockport Fulton and barely beat them. So they just kind of kept advancing until they ended up in the state title game, and they played the number one team in the state and hung with them the whole game. I mean, it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a mismatch. Wimberley was there, and they easily could have won the game. Pleasant Grove just proved that they were a little bit stronger, but Wimberley was not a fluke in getting there. So that's telling you, there's a little bit of parity in the sense of it's the talent is kind of all over. It's just the game plans, the coaching is sometimes kind of overlooked, and you could easily. I heard a lot of people saying, "Well, they beat them earlier in the year, so they're going to beat them again," and that came back twice to not be correct. This was one. Navarro had beaten Wimberley earlier in the year, pretty bad, and then they played them again and beat them, and then it happened to one of the teams that Wimberley had played. Same thing. They had lost earlier in the year, and then they beat them in the playoffs. I think it was Silsby that it happened to, where they had lost earlier in the year, and then they came back and beat the same team in the playoffs, and then those two teams met. So Wimberley ended making it to the state title game was one that they didn't win their last game. They didn't win their district, so not many people would have picked them to go to the state title game, and that's where they ended up. So it would have been amazing for them to win it for a real nice story. But like I said again, even getting there was really a tough road for them, hard road, and they earned every single win. They just came up short at the end a little bit, but you got to congratulate that team and those kids for getting there through all of the adversity and being tested almost every week. In the 6A game again, their Geyer's quarterback getting hurt 6 late into the game, solidified Austin Westlake right away. It was like, okay, because the regular backup had been hurt as well. So you're bringing in the third string quarterback, a freshman with no experience. Um, you know, coming into a big game like that, college atmosphere, and just throwing him in there, it's hard. It's a hard thing to ask for a freshman to do. You can't fault him. You can't jump all over him. It's the moment sometimes is too big, and you can't expect someone to just come in and do what a starting player does. So that was kind of a little bit of a disappointment that last game, but again, no apologies from needed from Westlake. They play who they need to play, and then that's just the way it is. So everybody has injuries, and the ball bounces a certain way, and you just take it the way it comes, and whatever happens at the end happens. So great year, great uh, football season for the entire state of Texas. We look forward to it every year. Enjoyed this past year. We'll keep doing these shows. Not maybe every week, but to keep maybe if there's something that's going on or new rules or anything like that, to come in, do a short show to kind of let people know what's going on, or something that comes up or happens. As it gets closer, we'll do a little bit more shows, and any realignment or anything like that. The big games that are going to be right off week one. So that's what we're gonna keep doing it. So again, we have a special guest coming up next, Coach Lee Vallejo, who unfortunately lost against the Austin Westlake Chaparrals this past weekend, and we're gonna be talking to him a little bit, and talking about the coaching and his time in Carrizo Springs. So we'll be back with that. All right, guys, I'm here with Coach Lee Vallejo, who now coaches at Denton Geyer, legendary Wildcat football player for most people here that can remember. He came down for the holidays, and we're able to get a hold of him to do a little uh, question and answer here. Um, Disappointed by the outcome of the state championship game. Um, a couple questions that I had to ask on it. I know you're disappointed, but what's it like to play there at AT&T Stadium?
Oh, it's to watch. We I've been fortunate enough to be there for 10 years, 12 years at Den Geyer. So we played there several times, but every time you take a new team out there to watch those kids, their first time going to AT&T,
Right,
their first reaction of seeing it, it's kind of neat to watch their faces when it's the first time. So
right,
I think every year that we get to play there, I think I'm looking more at those kids to see their reaction when they go play there because it's a pretty neat place.
right. And I mean, you're talking about basically the one of the top stadiums in the world with in the NFL and everything, and for them to go in there and say that we've played in there, gone into the locker rooms, a lot of places where a lot of the normal regular people can't go into,
No
there,
doubt.
and then come out the the tones and everything. It's
It's a pretty neat
pretty
deal.
neat, yeah, pretty neat deal to say, I played there, and then celebrate at the same time, uh,
A funny thing, we're at halftime. Well, I'm in the box, so I'm in the box usually helping Coach Wallace call plays. So I'm up there. So at halftime, we're coming down, and we run into Mr. Smith, Mr. Emmett Smith. He's there watching football too. He was there because his son played for Dallas Jesuit.
okay, yeah,
So Dallas Jesuit was played to the quarterfinals against Westfield, Houston Westfield.
oh, that's right,
That we played.
yeah, in Houston,
Yeah, in Houston, but it could have been very easily been Dallas Jesuit.
right.
Well, Emmett was there, and so we're coming down in the same elevator, coming down to the bottom, and he was there to watch our guys play. And
Wow, that's pretty neat.
yeah, and he was going home because it was halftime, and our guy got hurt, and so he kind of knew more.
What was, yeah,
Yeah, but it was still pretty neat talking to him about man. Him saying, I sure wish it was different. I said, yeah, me too. Me too.
I had a little conversation with
Yeah.
Emmett Smith going down
Yeah.
the elevator. It's pretty,
Pretty neat.
yeah. 'Cause, I mean, for it to be a high school game and having a conversation with him about
Yeah.
football, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Um, I know that disappointed because of your quarterback going down really early in the game. Um, and I know it's a hard, it's a hard thing to get to that last game, and for it to kind of happen that way. The kind of a lot of people say, well, injuries happen, but you know, for it to happen like that is unfortunate. But uh, what about next year's chances with this team that wasn't able to kind of finish off the season how you wanted?
Well, the good thing is we'll have our quarterback back next year.
Yeah.
He's only a junior, so he'll be coming back next year as a senior. And like you said, it's just so hard to get there. I mean, everything's got to fall into place.
Right.
You got to have a little luck here and there. You got to have the ball bounce your way here and there. You got to have lucky of being injury free.
Right.
Which, we were most of the part to that week 16.
Until the end.
So it's just so hard to say we'll get there, we'll be there again,
Right.
because you just never know.
Right.
I mean, the kids work hard, and I know we got a good group of kids. Every year we're gonna have a chance, but it's all got to fall into place. I mean, you got to have a little luck here and there, and the ball's got to bounce your way here
Right.
and there.
Right. And I mean, fortunately, I mean, you've got a good foundation out there that, whenever, the year doesn't end, to say in the state championship, you always got that foundation of the next kids that are coming up to say, well, we'll finish this one off, we'll get it.
Yeah, no doubt.
It looks like there's a torch being passed, kind of every season with the guys out there. Because you can see that every year, you might not reach as far as you do, but you're always there in the sense of we got a shot anyway.
Yeah,
We might not get to the state championship, but we could easily be in that game.
no doubt. No doubt.
So every year, so that's pretty good. A foundation that Coach Walsh has got down there, and hopefully he keeps it going for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good with him being there, and it all started with his I think his son with J.W. Walsh.
Right.
When we first got there, like I said, he was a ball boy at Brownwood, and we got there, and he was a freshman, and then we made a run when he was a sophomore,
Right.
Junior, senior year, and I think after that, it all just carried over to Gerard Hurd, to
Right.
Sean Robinson, to Eli Stowers, and it just kind of carries on.
Yeah, and it's good because the younger kids will look at these guys and they're legends, and
Yeah.
they want to be those guys.
No
And,
doubt.
You got 5 little kids that want to be them, and each one wants to be better than the other, and you get the best one, and it just continues.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what's the best game that you've been a part of in there in Geyer that you could say that now this was a game, and say, wow, that's
Well, there's about 3 games that stick to mind. That's way out there. One of them was against Longview in 010. We're behind with 17 seconds to go in the game, and we're down by 4 or 5, whatever. And they're playing the ball, and we're playing at SMU. It's a beautiful afternoon on a semifinal football game. The winner goes to the state championship, go play Stavola Steel, and we're down by 4 or 5, and I'll be darned if we go block the punt. We go block the punt. We got 1 play left, and we throw a fade ball, and we score to win the game. And that was a game that we played Longview the previous 2 years in semis and been beat by them. So it was always us and Longview in the semifinal game. Every year was us and them. And they got us the first 2 years, and that third year we got them in that kind of fashion. And that was a pretty fun.
so you're able to get over that.
that hump,
Finally
make it to the state game.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that can never get over that.
That's right.
It's just every year they run into that one team that
Yeah.
beats them every season.
Every year.
I know that I think Navarro was like that with Cueta for a lot of years, and they finally were able to get over. And once they did, it's like, okay, we can beat them.
Yeah.
You look at these schedules and you're okay, right there where they're not gonna get over that because they just cannot beat that team.
It's a mental deal,
Yeah.
block.
Yeah. So because mentally you're like, I mean, we can't. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's hard for a lot of teams to get over that one little hump, and once they do, it seems to open a lot of doors. Like after that, it's like, well, we can beat them anytime.
It could be anytime we can, and like I said, that was a fun game because how it turned out.
Right.
And then the other one was that first title game playing Georgetown. we're down 16 in the fourth quarter, and
Right.
and for us to come back in the fourth quarter like that, that was pretty special too. Um, so, and then this year we're down playing Cedar Hill. We're down 41-26 to Cedar Hill in the third quarter, going to fourth, and we recovered three onside kicks in a row to get that. We won 50-41. So it's just been a lot of pretty neat games there.
The only time that I remember somebody recovering three is the Tyler.
John Tyler, that's right.
John Tyler game
Plano,
where they
East, yeah.
where they came back and then they finally kick it off and the guy took it all the way.
Yeah.
So that's the only time that I can remember three onside kicks. I mean, I remember two. I know that I've seen two of them, but not three. Like
Well,
three
it's funny you say that because we thought in our head, in our mind, we thought about that John Tyler game because we played John Tyler in 13. Well, John Tyler was behind. We were ahead by 20 some points. Well, John Tyler did three onside kicks on us and recovered all three of them. And now they had three NFL guys on that team. Ward, which is a receiver now for the Seahawks. And then the Bowser, and then another receiver. Anyway, they were loaded that year, so they recovered three onside kicks in a row, and they recovered all of them, and they were ahead. And they decided to do on the fourth one, they decided to kick it deep to us, and we got the ball with 2 minutes to go in the game, and we go score to win the game. Well, they should have just gone probably for onside, and they would have gotten it again probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's.
I mean, and the entire time after we got ahead, we're yelling at each other in the headphones. We can't be John Tyler. We can't be. Don't forget about John Tyler. So we do it again, and we got it. So we didn't kick off to them. We said, no, we're not gonna do that.
That's not gonna happen.
No, not to us. If you beat us, it's gonna be because you beat us not this way. So we remembered that. So,
I had just seen that. They did a little documentary on that game that people still remember. That's crazy because the announcers and everybody was going crazy, and I mean, it was kind of surreal how it all kind of went down to and then to end it that certain way was crazy.
The kickoff return is crazy. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, let's see. I had we were kind of talking earlier today, and you had said that you got some calls about head coaching, and what's your kind of stand on that right now? I got Carrizo people everywhere, asking you, will he come back? Would he come back? That kind of thing. But I always kind of say, well, he's got a successful coaching career right now going. As he gets older, maybe they'll say, what, let me lean towards maybe head coaching now or something like that. But as of right now, where do you kind of stand on offers or anything like that?
It's always during this time of years whenever things happen all the time, and
right.
It's always, you get a phone call here or hey, you mind talking, and I think it's always out there, and yes, I would love to one of these days, no doubt about it. It's got to be the right situation. It's got to be the right situation and the right thing where it all works out together with, with other coaches, administration, and everything. It's got to be the right way. Right now it's got to be right because I'm in a great place. So I'm not going to take a chance of going somewhere if it ain't going to be where you're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's hard just to make that leap if you're not all in.
Right.
Because I'm in a good place. So
yeah, you would have to make a decision. Would have to be, what, I'm gonna come over here and do it, understanding the situation and understanding the circumstances and consequences and everything that comes with it. Yeah. You gotta be say, okay, I gotta be prepared for whatever comes.
Correct.
But because this is what I want to do. And I get it. I mean, it's not an easy decision. When you've got Walsh, the one that kind of took you under his wing, and loyalty is very important. Also,
yes.
You can say, unless he says, I think you do a good job as a head coach, and whatever, that kind of to push you to say, okay, maybe I'll try it, but A lot of times that's what happens. You lose good coaches because there's no loyalty or stuff like that. And you want to keep those guys. And
That's
say,
right.
you,
Yeah.
you you as a head coach would know. Okay, that guy's ready. That guy's not
Yeah.
ready yet. And that's kind of what you want. You
Yeah.
want to learn a lot more and
No doubt.
have that experience to where you can say, you know what, I think it's time or whatever. But it is an open, you know,
Yes.
uh, possibility that you would come down here in the sometime in the future and say, you know what, I'll give it a try out here
Yes.
with the
No.
Cats.
It is very open. There's no doubt about it. And like I said, it's got to be the right situation. But yes, I am very open to go in that direction for sure.
I mean, now that we're talking about the Cats, well, I mean, you were talking about Coach Tate and how important he was to you, and the story you were telling me about that uh, you had called him right
Out of
right out of
college,
college that you wanted a job,
I did.
and tell everybody kind of what he told you.
As soon as I graduated college and I was I was looking for a job, yeah, I called him for a job, because you always call your head coach back and always ask for a job for help, and he flat out told me, he goes, nope, I'm not going to hire you. Stay up there somewhere. Stay up there in that where you're the area you're at. He goes, don't come this direction. And I said, well, coach, I need a job. And he goes, and he told me no. And then you fast forward about a month later, I'm at a football clinic, walking with my college head coach, Jimmy Keeling, and I meet Steve Freeman, and he's the head coach of Brownwood. And Coach Freeman, he's one of those. He's a great man. He kind of took me under his wing also, and he was, he taught me a lot, and he took me in as one of his own probably sons basically. And anyway, well, he came up to me and goes, "Hey, Lee, I hear you're looking for a job." He goes, "I got something open in Brownwood, a receiver job, receiver coach. Would you like to take it?" And he said, "I'm going to go to the bathroom, and when I come out, give me your answer." And that was it. So what I do, I called Coach Tate right away. I said, "Coach Tate, Steve Freeman just offered me a job in Brownwood. What should I do?" He goes, "Take it. Don't call me again." And hung up on me.
Yeah, that sounds like what Tate would do.
No doubt. And of course, I took it, and it all worked out pretty good. But,
Yeah, so he kind of
Yeah.
had an idea that you would it would be a little bit more successful and understand that, look, I think you could do a lot more up there first, learn a lot more and get a lot more experience,
Yeah.
before you want to come down and do something over here. But
Yeah.
you know, I talked to his son and he was saying that Coach Tate kind of did the same thing when he was coming up in coaching, that they had offered him the head coaching job at Arkansas,
Uh-huh.
and he turned it down because he was like, "No, I'm not a college guy. I like, working with the younger kids." And then they went after him a little bit, and he was
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm gonna stick to my high school."
To roots.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it worked out for him. So,
Yeah.
he was a special coach in the sense of. It wasn't just, well, he was good here. I mean, a lot of people knew that how good he was and wanted him, and he stayed loyal to Carrizo, and like I said, I always say that when he left, he kind of left our town and our football team spoiled because
Yes.
we were winning at that was it. We were gonna win no matter what. But once he started leaving and where it started, going the other way, everybody was like, wow, how special he really was to know that what we had with him. As people started appreciating him a lot more than they did when he was. You still get a lot of ex football players that talk about him, and he was like a dad to me, and
No doubt.
how he was. So, um, what was it? What was it like to play for Coach Tate? I mean,
He he took care of me. I mean, he really did. He was playing quarterback for him was I was frightened when he first told me you gonna play quarterback, and I'm going, golly, are you sure? And but he always had the best interest in all of us. He took care of all of us. He took us. He made sure it was about us first, and then it all worked out in the team. But he, like you said, we always thought on every game, no matter who we were playing, we were going to win.
Right.
It did not matter. And I was fortunate enough to be on varsity my freshman year, and I played defense. That's all I did because Justin Brown was a quarterback, and he goes, I need Justin to have a breather, so I need you to play defense, play some safety or some quarterback.
Right.
And really just play cover three. Don't get me deep. Yeah, that's all it is.
The guy get behind you, right?
That's all I did, really. And well, a couple of times someone got behind me, and he would grab me and goes, "What the hell am I telling you?" And he kind of gave me a hard time. And anyway, but I learned a lot that freshman year because we were a very talented team, and we had a good football team, and learned a lot from Justin.
Right.
And that group of guys were really good, and it was a lot of fun. It was lots of fun. And but like I said, Coach Tate always took care of us, and he took care of me from day one. I was going fishing at his house, and it was Coach Hartong's fish, really. And he would tell me, "Come fish out here, Lee. It's okay." And it wasn't his fish; it was Hartong's fish. But it was kind of funny though when Hartong found out. He goes, "What in the hell?"
You were talking about right now the Justin Brown and all these guys. What were the Wildcats that you remember as growing up that had that?
I remember walking. When you're in middle school, you walk in that field house, and you used to walk in that place, and there's always these pictures on that wall, and you always wanted to be one of those pictures. You remember a guy like Tony Hernandez. That run he made against Uvalde, that touchdown run that. It was that flea flicker that, I think it was Keith Wetzik, pitched to him and so on. And it was that big run down the sideline. You would see a Barry Brinkley. He was in with us. He coached me in 8th grade and came through high school with us. But whenever you were walking in, you would say, "Hey, that's our coach right there, and he's on that wall." Right. So you always automatically you say, "Hey, whatever he says is right," and that's how we always thought of Coach Brinkley, and of course he's been a great guy to me because we still talk to this day, once a week probably. But it was guys like that I would look up to Patrick Bird.
Right.
I remember the game at Hitchcock,
right.
When he did that fake punt, I believe, or Hermanville, and when they lost, you cried, you teared up when you were a kid, because those guys were your heroes. So it was always lots of guys like that right there. You always wanted to be, a guy like that.
Right, right.
Todd Stevenson, which was a great player in the back of the day also.
Right.
So, but absolutely, it was always you walk in that field house and you see those pictures, and that's what you want to be like.
Right. And I remember Coach Tate didn't have very many freshmen playing.
No.
Very, 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 very few. I remember, I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I remember when we, because me and Lee met when, our story's kind of funny because his grandma used to live across from my house. And every Sunday they would come and visit. And Lee as a little kid would come across because I had a basketball hoop and a basketball. And he just came across, started playing, and then, I mean, you're talking about a little bitty kid.
Never left.
And I was junior high already, kind of freshman, and he just would come around and kept playing, and sometimes I wasn't even there, and he would still go, and we're like, yeah, it's all right if he comes. I remember his mom talking to my mom and saying, no, we don't want to let him go if you're not there. And my mom's like, no, if he wants to go play, let him play. So I've known Lee since before he was a Wildcat. And I remember we were, because we would get in big groups. It would start small, and then we'd end up with like 12, 15 people playing there. And I remember one of those days where you came back from practice, and you were kind of telling us all, "Hey, I made it as a freshman," and to us being from Washington, it was like everybody's a freshman, everybody makes it. So we didn't know how big of a deal it was until. I learned maybe like a couple years later. I was like, "Well, that was pretty good." I mean, but finding out that not very many freshmen made the varsity, it was like that. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. But I remember, you were so excited. We were like kind of brushing it off, like it's like we're like, well, whatever. I mean, because we didn't know that's how kind of Carrizo was. It was like you made it freshman, you had to be, pretty good, and you had to be, like you said, because the freshman you're gonna make mistakes, and you had to have a coach that had kind of something that knew was like, you know what, I mean, we need him out there anyway. So I remember that story, and then like a couple years later, I remember like, wow, that was a pretty big deal. Because after that, we would, I think, very few that actually made it as freshmen. And I would always go back to that story. I'm like, he's trying to tell everybody. We were all looking at him like, okay,
Cool.
okay, yeah, all right, good job. But that's kind of how I found. I knew Lee way before all the Wildcat stuff. So it's pretty neat to see how far he went from that little kid playing hoops there, and then sometimes it was just me and him, and then all of a sudden his little sister Leslie would come out, hey, we're ready to go, and but from that little kid all the way to where he is now is a pretty cool deal. To see him on TV, coaching and getting state titles, and a lot of people know him from playing, but I knew him way before he was even a Wildcat. So, before we take any more of your time, anything you want to say to the Wildcats? I know you keep up with them very little, and because you're pretty busy out there, but I know you still have, you're still Wildcat at heart, and anything you want to say to the to the team, to the coaches, or to the town, see what where they're at, and what to look forward to.
I just want to say just try to go with the process and believe in the process. I know it could be difficult, but this is a time of year. These next few months, these are more important times right here. These next 5-6 months, this is where you earn all those W's that you get in the season. This off season, this grind that people like to call it. Because
Right.
it is a grind. I mean, it's not fun waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go lift weights at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, or coming after school and coming running track.
Right.
I mean, I understand. I mean, I see it every day. Because it's a long 6 months, and it's the same thing over and over and over, and I understand. I said, but just believe in the process, and it all takes care of itself when it's all said and done. But if you young guys, kind of understand what it takes and what it means to be a Wildcat, it'll always work out. But yeah, the main thing is just, I know it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again for a while, but just go with it, man, and give it all you got. At the end of the day, it's you in that mirror, and what did I do that day? Did I give it all I have? And that mirror doesn't lie back to you. When
Right.
you look in that mirror in that face, it don't lie to you.
Yeah, and the hard work does pay off in the end, and
Yeah.
it really does. A lot of people, there's always an excuse for everything, but if you put that work in, it always works out. It always does. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, even in life. If you put the work in, you'll see it in the end. I mean, sometimes it's, oh, I don't see it, but eventually it does. It does.
Yeah.
Because you can see it when those teams that are holding up that trophy, you can see it that's everything culminates to that last to that where you want to be, and all that hard work comes in. I know sometimes you fall short, but still, coming in, like you say, nobody remembers second, but you do remember it because it's still hard work, and you're like, I mean, considering where we were to be the second best team, and then to do it without our best player, you kind of like, still special,
Yeah.
that to be able to get to that point. So, I mean, a lot of that is because of the hard work, and it brings out a lot of character in a lot of kids when they don't win. And it's like, okay, so what do we do now? To get back there. They work harder, or what do we need to change up a little bit? But it's always okay. We didn't do it. Let's see what we can do to get there.
And you
Next
start
year.
over again. You start again. So yeah, it's crazy, but that's what happens.
All right, so we want to thank Lee for joining us here today, and hopefully we can get him, again sometime in the future, maybe a few months when he's down here, or if we go up there, we might be able to get him, and maybe he can show us around up there.
Absolutely.
And again, thanks, Lee. We'll see you. Get back to you soon.